Welcome to Two Humans Talking, the podcast where we talk about what it really takes to stay and be healthy in this modern, fast paced world. I'm Tiffany Sims, your holistic wellness coach, and today I am bringing you Naomi Harris. And we, ladies, we're going to talk about pleasure and in the exact naughty way that your brain just went, did she really just say that? Is that what we're really talking about? That's where we're going today because we are all adults here and it's not wrong to talk about it. And I'm really excited, Naomi, about this conversation today once we get into it, because I think that there's like a bit of taboo around talking about orgasms and pleasure and maybe challenges that we're having in private time. And so, like, why not be friends and really get into the stuff that we're struggling with and how we were overcoming it in real life?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm really excited you're here. Naomi, will you share with our besties that are listening to us on the pod right now who you are, where you're from, what lights your soul on fire, kind of what makes you you?
Okay. Love to. Hello, Tiffany. Hello, everybody. So I am Naomi. I'm an Aussie, but I'm currently in Europe. And this is kind of like my international accent, because if I go full on Aussie accent, half the world doesn't understand me, even if they speak English. So this is kind of the polite Aussie accent. I won't swear as much as I would normally do. And so I work with women who have like sexual shutdown, numbness, no orgasm, or pain with sex. So we're talking like pain with penetration or vulvas just hurting all the time, or just like that feeling of there's got to be something better than what I'm experiencing. This can't be all that there is. And that's what
This
I do,
can't be the thing everyone is raving about. Like this sucks.
right? That's it. I mean, I read the romance novels, right? And I've been watching the movies, and it just seems to take somebody a few seconds and it's all over. But for me, it's not working. So yeah, I totally do all that.
I love that. How did this become your gift to the world? Like, how did you discover this was your thing and what you were supposed to be doing in this season of life?
It's kind of like a cliche, but of course it's my own story. It's like,
Yeah.
we're inspired by the challenges that we're working through and overcoming ourselves. So I was 30. I must have been 30 before I finally admitted to myself that sex hurt, that I didn't have orgasms, that I wasn't interested in sex, that the sex I'd ever all of the sex I'd ever had, I hadn't enjoyed. And at the time, I just thought I didn't enjoy sex. I didn't realize I didn't enjoy the sex I was having. And so then I did my own big dive in the deep end of it and working this stuff out. And at the time, I was already working as a naturopath, which is like an alternative practitioner, if you don't know. And so then I kind of pivoted to just working with women, and then I pivoted to working with women around sex and orgasm and that doing loads of trainings and loads of my own kind of exploration around what's possible. And because now I'm in a body that doesn't have pain with sex, and I'm in the body that has those kinds of orgasms that you read about, those ones. Whew. So now I'm like inspired by it. I want everybody to have this.
Like,
That's why I do it.
I, isn't that the thing? And I know you said it was cliche because you're like, this comes out of my own story, but like,
Yeah.
how can it not? I feel like when we experience something that we struggled with and we found the answer that was different than what we were taught, we
Yeah.
can't help but want to share that gift with other people to help them through what they're struggling through too. And no one tells a 5-year old it's cliche to want to be a scientist because they love science or to be an astronaut because they love stars. So I
No,
don't think it's cliche that your career path evolves into the things that you find interest in.
no, I
I
think
think
so.
it's very natural and
And because
normal.
and it's so inspiring. It feels juicy on a cellular level to me because I've seen it on both ends. Like I can talk the science of it, I can talk the practicalities of it, and I can talk the lived experience of it. And so why wouldn't I
I
want
just
to?
got goosies at the thought of that, like career satisfaction of juiciness at the
Yeah,
cellular level.
totally.
Like, because I get
Totally.
that too. Like, in my world of simply healthy living and helping
Yeah.
people heal their relationship with food and exercise, I juicy in my cellular level, like, I felt that. And I
Yeah.
was like, I know exactly what she's talking about.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's why people say it's cliche because
Yeah.
most people do not experience that level of satisfaction in their career choices and how they're earning money. And so there's that disconnect
Yeah.
of like, get a real job. You're supposed to be miserable. And it's like, no.
No. This is the best job in the world.
Yeah. So let's just go there.
Yeah.
As a woman
Hmm.
who has experienced like pain with penetration and
Hmm.
it being size independent,
Yep.
but certain positions, and then
Hmm.
like, where do you even start that conversation with someone? If, say, I'm the person who's raising my hand going, like, it could be me. Like, how does
Yeah.
someone even come start that conversation with you?
So, I mean, the reality is that the first session, I never do, I very rarely ever just do one-offs because this stuff is so complex. So we work together for a while because we
Mhm.
have to unpack it. And the truth is the first session is maybe 90 minutes of me asking every single question that I can think of to try to get to like the nitty-gritty of what's going on in your body, because it's different for every single person and the reasons are different for every single person. And just to say, often we don't even know why. We don't
I was
work out.
about to ask you,
Yeah.
like, really what's happening when we get blocked off?
Yeah.
Like, why is there pain that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
happening?
So on just like on a like high level, pain in the body. So let's say that you've got pain on penetration, right? So there's something coming into your body and it hurts, and it can hurt to the point where nothing can get in, or it can hurt to the point where something can enter your vagina and then there's just agony. And the thing about pain is it is the body trying to tell us something. So it's trying to tell us that there is something around this situation that isn't right. Hey, pay attention. Something's not okay right now. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the person or the experience that you're having is the thing that's not okay, because it can be past experiences that have set up this situation. But, and the other thing to know about pain is that our bodies don't start out with pain. They might start out with, like we say, pain's like the body screaming at us, hey, can I have some attention here?
You
And
haven't been listening.
it
Hello.
come on. And it might start out with the whisper, but we don't pay attention to whispers in this life and this society. We're too busy for whispers. We're too busy for normal speaking voices. We need the screaming at us to make us stop and pay attention. And that's what's happening with this pain. Just like realistically, pain is your body going, hey, talk to me. There's something that's not right. And
Mm.
that's
So how do you like, where do we, I don't even know how to articulate my questions.
it. Yeah.
So like, let's say
Yeah.
positions matter for
Mhm.
pain, all of that. Like, where would I even, how do I even like, if someone, well, I'll use my own past experiences.
Yeah. Great.
I've had severe like blockage in my lower half and recently learned that my chakras are like super blocked.
Hmm.
My root chakra is blocked, and I, for someone who doesn't know what that is, it's just the fancy way of talking about the different energy points in your body and like dividing your body up into different points along your spinal cord. And so it's just like the root of my chakra, my sacral chakra and my root chakra, very blocked. Like you could hit a sound bowl in that, what is it, key note F, and like I just burst into tears, blocked.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when we talk about sexual experiences, especially from behind, which is something that is like a very neutral position,
Hmm.
so much pain, so much discomfort, so much stabby feeling.
Yeah.
It's like you then all of a sudden you start clenching up in all the wrong ways and you're not
Oh, yeah.
present. And you're hoping that like it's over, but you don't want your partner to sacrifice either. So you're like stuck in your head, which doesn't help at all with pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna drop that on the table and you can take
Yeah.
that conversation
Totally.
wherever you want.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so there's a bunch of things we have to think about. And this is the deal, right? It's not simple. It's like really not simple. For some women, it is really simple and really obvious. It's just like, oh, I had a yeast infection and now I have pain. And so I need to deal with the yeast infection and then the pain's going to go away. It's not always that simple. So we have to look at things like the body can hold pain in its tissues as a response to past traumas. Now, I'm not saying that everybody who has sexual pain has had sexual trauma, misuse, or abuse in their past, because that's absolutely not what I'm saying. Because the reality of being a human is that things that shock our nervous system, that our nervous system isn't able to deal with in the first, say, 7 years of life, They kind of get stored in the kind of base chakra, what you talked about, for later. That's the one that's online in those first 7 years, and that's the place that the body's going to store things. So our body can store shocking experiences in that area for us to deal with later on when we're adults and we're resourced enough.
Thank you, body. That's so kind of you.
It's so useful. Well, it is in a way, kind, because it's stopping you from being overwhelmed. It's actually like a defense mechanism. It's a survival mechanism of your body going, okay, all right, we can't deal with this right now. We're too little. We don't know what's happening. And then we can wait until. So that could be one thing that's happening. Another thing that's happening is you might just not be turned on enough for the sex position. You know, the fact that women take between 25 to 45 minutes to be fully aroused for penetration. Can I just say that again? Up to 45 minutes of foreplay before penetration. Anybody putting up their hand right now and owning up to that one, right? And owning up to their partners, like to asking their partners for that amount and not feeling ashamed of taking up that much time and needing that much. Yeah. And
I
so
like that you brought up without shame
without shame.
or
Yeah.
like inconvenience. And
Good.
without the and having a partner whose ego isn't tied to the fact that it takes you time. So now they're not making it about them, but truly wanting to be there for you.
Yeah. Or their ego isn't tied to how quickly they make you come, which is such a sad end result of sex in a way, because you miss all the stuff in
All
between,
the fun parts.
all the fun past. So if you're having penetration, if your body's used to being penetrated before it's ready, which means like fully aroused and fully ready, your body's never really had an experience of what fully aroused penetration is. And that can be a pain situation because tissues that aren't fully aroused are not ready for how vigorous, how like intense penetration can be for the body. So that could be another thing. And then there's all sorts of stuff. There can be like chronic pelvic tension that can show up, for example, in certain sex positions and not in other sex positions. There can be the penis that's coming into your body or the fingers or the toys that are coming into your body are actually not ones that your body wants to have in there.
Yeah.
Straight up, right? And therefore your body's going to be like, do it, yeah, you know,
Constriction of like reject,
it
flush,
can happen.
cleanse.
It can happen. And it's definitely not true for all women, because definitely not true for all women. But I have had women who have come to me with vulvar pain and then the relationship has ended and they have no more pain, like it was never there. It was
Isn't
just
that
the
wild?
body going, please, really, this guy, really, or this person, really?
Isn't that wild? Because like
Wild.
the mind overrides all of the
Yeah,
red flags and all of the things that are bringing you uncertainty and a lack of safety. And
totally.
is there anything more vulnerable than allowing someone to enter your body?
Totally. To
No.
get naked, to let them see you and smell you and taste you
To
and
trust them with
trust
you,
them, to
to
observe your orgasm face, to, the whole thing. Yeah.
be kind and caring. Like
Yeah.
it's a whole process. Like you are allowing someone to enter you.
Yeah.
It is very, very different than being the person doing the penetrating.
Absolutely.
Because
It
it's
really
like
is.
dominant force versus that submissive receiving.
Yep.
And it takes a level, even when we're having just fun with someone and you pick them up maybe one night in your like at a bar or something, if you're in your younger years or that's the season of life you're in, like there's still a level of comfortability that you have to take someone home with you.
Yeah.
And
If
so
you're if you're fully sober, which
yeah,
I think is also why non-sober sex happens a lot as well, because it dulls that edge of vulnerability. That is the truth of these experiences that we're having. And then there can be things like, depending on the way that your womb is aligned in your body, certain positions can hurt differently. Like the deeper positions, the cervix can hurt if you have like womb alignment situations as well. And then you need to work with like a pelvic floor person to see what
does
spots.
that change as we grow older?
Not necessarily. No, no, not necessarily. And then there's autoimmune conditions and there's other there is bacterial infections and there's STDs and there's yeast infections. And then, if you have pain in your gut, it can actually translate to pain in your genitals because there's very, very, very little distance between your large intestine and your genitals. And if there's inflammation in one place, it can create inflammation in the other place. So inflamed cervixes can happen because of inflamed guts. It's just the reality. Stuff like that.
That that's something we don't talk about at
No.
all.
Right. And see that it's so, and I've just listed like the top 5 or something, and there's so many more. It's really complex. Which I think is just, it's worth saying that because we give ourselves such a hard time about this stuff, right? Like, I mean, you talked about your experience. I know in my experience, like, not only am I like a health practitioner supporting people to heal, but now I'm having like sexual pain. And my pain was especially spicy because I got excruciating pain on orgasm that almost made me vomit and pass out. Yeah. So then I had like my whole relationship with pleasure and orgasm had
Yeah,
looked
like
at.
your body was rejecting it.
It was just because of shame. For me, it was shame. It was a whole lot of shame and a whole lot of fear being carried around in my tissues that I needed to look at. And so, but like we have so much mental stuff that goes on about this. You know, they say that up to 70% of women are going to have sexual pain at some point in their lives. Like that's 7 out of every 10 women at some point are going to have pain. And how many of us even talk about that?
I was to say, and my when you said that, the thing that popped up for me was like, and you know what the craziest part is that statistic is thrown around like it's normal, and like just because something is common doesn't mean that it's normal. It
Totally.
should be accepted because it happens to so many people, like just fall in line. But
Yeah.
that's sometimes how we use statistics like that
Yeah.
in those conversations
Yeah.
of like, it's the way it is. Sorry about your luck. When
Yeah.
that doesn't have to be the truth.
No. Which also reminds me when you say normal. So were you taught that sex was supposed to hurt and you were supposed to bleed the first time you had sex? Like your hymen was supposed to break? Or was that,
Bleeding most likely was an option that you might bleed. Something
yeah,
about a hymen. I
yeah,
remember the lies about like my mom shared with me that like there's many ways that a hymen could break, and that's not a sign if
yeah,
someone's a virgin or not.
yeah,
The first time I came home and shared some like juicy gossip from school, that was like one of those moments.
yeah,
Other things, I was very much a like my mom was the encyclopedia for me. I've never had problems asking questions.
great.
My mom, on the other hand, did not want to talk about it. Like I remember the first time I had my period. I was a late bloomer. It was like the summer before my ninth grade year, and I was like, "Mom, either I'm dying or it's finally happened." And she sits down, she pulls out the box, and she's like, "All right, we're only going over this once." And she showed me how to put a pad in. She's like, "There's other things in that box. There's directions if you want to figure that out on your own, but this is as far as the conversation goes." And she left. And anytime I would ask her any questions about sex or things like that, she'd be like, "Oh my God, honey, I will buy you a book. Please stop asking me questions. I will buy you a book, but we're not going to talk about this." And so, like,
Okay.
for my mom, it was uncomfortable. Whereas for me,
Yeah.
I'm like, she's like, "Can't you be a normal kid who asks her friends?" I remember her saying that once. And my response to her was like, "What do they know? Like, what? You've had 2 children. I'm assuming you know the answers to these questions. What do
Hmm.
they know, mom?" Like, but
Hmm.
for her, it was just like very uncomfortable to have that conversation with her teenage daughter.
It's so uncomfortable for so many people. It's uncomfortable for adults and and for let alone parents and, previous generations. And yet we're told for example, okay, so let's talk about this pain the first time we have sex thing. So it's a really common thing is that you're supposed to be as a virgin. It's supposed to hurt the first time. You have a hymen that's supposed to break. And then the story is, yes, but maybe it'll break a little bit earlier if you use tampons or you ride horses or ride bicycles, right? And then if you actually look at the truth of this, most female babies are not born with an intact hymen. So the whole thing is made up anyway. And yet there's this entire like world built around women's virginity and that first time they have sex. And there's this entire story built around it that it's supposed to hurt the first time. And so women go into sex expecting it to hurt the first time, and then it hurts. And then they're like, oh, well, that was supposed to happen. And then it keeps on happening. And they're like, well, maybe that's what's supposed to happen. It's never supposed to happen. Sex is never supposed to hurt unless you want it to.
Sorry, you finished your thought.
No. I could just,
Brain's going
I
down a
like,
rabbit.
yes, I could tell.
Because I had this moment where I was like, a moment of like aged wisdom reality of, I bet you that that story started when a man needed his ego stroked to make sure that he was the first to take someone's virginity. She wasn't dirty, she hadn't been around, and that you were so big that you made her bleed and it was painful, and like a lot of ego stroking of you're worthy as a man, and nothing to do with actual women's anatomy, because it's 2024 and we're just now learning that all of the things they've thought were true about women's anatomy and our health
Yeah,
were based off of some theories, but no one had ever actually studied a woman's body
yeah.
when they made up all of these theories.
And there's still cultures in the world that still rely on a woman bleeding the first time she has sex to prove her
Her
goodness,
purity.
her purity. And it's a problem because it's no,
Purity. Like that shame right there that you're impure and there's something wrong with you if
yeah,
you are experiencing sex
yeah,
out of context.
absolutely. Yeah. And I think as well, Tiffany, like what you said, like I think the truth of women's sexuality and women's bodies is women's sexuality is actually the most powerful force on earth with love and God, like, but in terms of these human experiences, female sexuality and it is creation energy. This is the energy that creates a new life and brings a new life into the world. And we're going to reduce that down to a little piece of skin at the opening of the vagina to prove that she's worthy of being in relationship with a man, or, like it just gets reduced and we get shamed and we get jokes about this fishy smell, or we get, like it just, everything takes away the beauty and the value and the truth of women's bodies and women's power.
Yeah. And for those of you who are watching this podcast episode on YouTube right now, you just saw my whole face shift and tears come to my eyes, because Naomi, when you were talking about like creation and creation energy and like how powerful we are as women,
Yeah.
I feel that in my core on a whole different level.
Mm.
And some of that I think is because in my mission and my purpose of healing our nation's relationship with food and exercise, so that future generations don't know what it's like to have to seek a diet to feel healthy in
Mm.
their own body, that's something that I believe that health is your birthright. Part of me serving into that mission is helping women, and I think about like clearing the mental load and energy that we carry around thinking about food and workouts and things like that. And I talk about in that, the thing I think about is like when a woman can clear the mental load that she's carrying about food and not knowing what the right next choice for her is, and freeing that up for her gives her the ability to get creative
Yeah.
and to figure out what her gifts are. And because that women are truly the solution to all of humanity's problems, that if we can clear the fog for her to step into her power, that we
Mm.
change the world. And it comes from that we are the creators. We hold life, we grow life,
Mm.
we ebb and flow. We are able to hold empathy and compassion while also driving and getting results. And like, so like when you said that, like all of that stuff that took me like felt
Mhm.
like 10 minutes to say, just I felt it in my body in that split second of just yes.
Yeah.
And, but yet we're not raised that way. We're not raised to
Oh.
see that in the superpower that that is. And like people, that phrase of like, oh, grow a pair of balls. And
Mm.
it's like, why? I
Mm.
want to be tough as a vagina. She takes a beating, she stretches, she tears, she comes back together. Like she is strong and resilient and still loves life. Pair
Yeah.
of balls, you hit it wrong and they're on their knees crying. Why do I want to grow a pair of balls?
Yeah.
You know, like step into that feminine power.
Mhm. Yeah.
And you can do that without feeling woo woo and cheesy about it if you're someone where that like feminine goddess energy doesn't jive with you yet.
Totally. Yeah. And I love what you said about, diet culture and eating and stuff as well. It's the same with shame around the way that we look, shame around our bodies. shame around, what did we say, 45 minutes to be fully aroused, shame around our needs, shame around the way we look and the way we smell, if we're going to talk about vulvas and vaginas and stuff. Like, if we can clear away the noise, that noise of diet culture, that noise of body shame, that noise of never being good enough or right enough, like, clear all of that away, like, what's left? And the possibility of what's left, and like you said, what we can bring to the world with that. I mean, I see that in myself as I heal and heal and heal and heal this stuff. Like, my capacity then to bring to the world something positive, it just grows exponentially, and it's a real gift, and kind of have to do the hard work to get there as well,
Yeah.
whatever that healing looks like for each of us individually, but it's worth it.
Yeah. And I love that you said hard work, because I think we also are living in a time where like we're being sold that like the hustle and the grind is toxic and that everything's supposed to be easy and flow. And
Yeah.
it's like, actually, if we want something different than we've never done that before. That's gonna be uncomfortable because
Yeah.
you're learning how to do things in a way you've never done them before. And so like, don't shy away from the discomfort
Yeah.
while also paying attention to make sure it's discomfort in the way of growth, not just hard to be hard.
Yeah. Right on. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
Hmm. Yeah.
that's so beautiful. You know what else just popped up for me that I think is really real when we talk about like shame and not wanting to talk about it and keeping it to ourselves,
Hmm.
is that like, when you're in a relationship, going to your girlfriends to talk about things that might not be right in the bedroom is, you worry if they're going to start thinking that your relationship's on the rocks because your sex life isn't great, and or like all of the things that you worry about, all the things they might think about you
Hmm.
and why you're having troubles, and you don't want to create
Yeah.
that pot and stir a pot that didn't exist, and so you keep
Yeah.
it to yourself,
Yeah.
because it's like you start wondering, it's like, well, is the reason I'm struggling because something in our relationship isn't right? Is this the wrong person? And then like, you start doubting.
Yeah.
And so like, can you hold some space for that, for a woman who might be having that conversation with herself for why she doesn't want to talk about it because there's shame around her relationship maybe?
Yeah. So one thing I would say is, if we really do the work of healing into our bodies and finding our own pleasure and finding our own orgasm and sexuality, and I mean, I'm going to take one more step back and then I'll come back to that. I won't forget. Is one thing I say is, we're all responsible for our own orgasm. We're all responsible for our own pleasure. And what that actually means is, orgasm comes from inside of us. You know, like this whole thing of, oh, he gave me such an amazing orgasm. Oh my gosh, he made me come. They made me squirt, whatever you want to say, right? It's always like the other person who's making our body do something. But the part of the story that's always the same is our bodies. It's always our body, right?
I
That
love
is
this so much.
having the orgasm, that's having the experience, that's allowing the pleasure, that's receiving. Our partners can create an environment that maybe makes it easier for us to come, but the truth is that we come. It's our orgasm, it's our pleasure. And the other thing that I say, so that's the first thing, your pleasure is actually your responsibility, and with great power comes great responsibility. So your responsibility is actually to step into it and to own it and to claim it, and to stop blaming the people around you if you're having shitty sex. If you're having, am I allowed to swear? Sorry.
You're
Uh,
good.
yeah, okay.
It was
If you're
genuine and it was authentic. It hit where it was supposed to hit.
okay, okay. If you're not having the kind of sex that you want to be having, are you able to ask for what you want in a way that your partner can hear and they don't feel just like shut down and cut off by? But are you actually able to go, oh my goodness, I love it so much when you do that. Can you do more of that one in this other area of my body? Because, you know, the whole, oh, I don't like it when you do that, that doesn't necessarily land very well. But if you can positive it, it's always useful. But the actual speaking up in the first place can be the hardest thing for women. Like, hands up who's faked an orgasm, right? Hands up who's just pushed through sex
I
they
want to know
weren't,
hands up who hasn't.
right?
Like,
Hands up who's pushed through sex they weren't enjoying having just to get it over and done with. Like, all of, instead of going, hey, you know what? this isn't working for me. Can we try something else? Or this isn't working for me. Let's go and, I don't know, have a cup of tea, something else. But we're scared and we don't speak up and we don't state our needs and we don't ask for what we want. So orgasm comes from inside of us. This is our pleasure. This is our responsibility. And part of that responsibility is sometimes that we have to do the really hard thing and start going, oh, didn't really enjoy that. And I'm going to need to say something now in order to try to facilitate something being a bit different next time. And then working out a way to have those conversations with partners, because they can be really hard conversations, because you already mentioned like sex and ego, like it's so tied up. Like we have, like a lot of us have this kind of view of ourselves or projection of ourselves out into the world in the ways that we have sex and our sexual identity and our gender identity and what we're into and what we're not into. And it becomes, this whole thing. And then to somebody to actually go, I didn't really enjoy that. Could we try something a bit different? Can be like
We
a
take on the
massive.
responsibility of the emotions our partner needs to work through.
Mm-hmm.
Like we want to hold that for them because for some reason I think men were in the locker room, there's like this idea that if you can't please a woman, like you're supposed to just know,
Mm-hmm.
and that like if you can't do it then you suck as a man, when in reality being an amazing I am in a I do man boy girl sex, and so like that's my reference point. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever your mix up for your world is, take
Mm-hmm.
that with, like, make that work for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we don't want the other person to feel bad about themselves or
Yeah.
react poorly or think they suck, when, because we also know that we don't want someone to say that we're not doing a good job, because
Totally.
that's embarrassing. How dare I? But it's
Yeah.
that like we have to stop holding the responsibility of how the other person is going to receive the information and really take responsibility for how we provide the feedback
Totally.
we need.
And we have to take responsibility for working out what we like.
Yes.
Because if you're not having sex that you like and you're not touching your own body and discovering your own pleasure and working out your own orgasm style and places and triggers and that whole thing, how can we ask somebody else to know ourselves if we don't even know
I
ourselves?
went through a season of Tiffany. If you don't want to have sex with yourself, why would anyone else want to do it?
Right
Like,
on.
how can you hold so high of an expectation for someone else to do
Yeah.
something that you don't want to do for yourself?
Yeah. It's beautiful. I mean, that's kind of like tough love right
Right?
there.
Like,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
gotta kind of get into it, and you can't feel weird about it, and you can't need to. It can't always just be in a rush, you know.
Yes. Slow down. I mean, that's something like where we ask guys to slow down a lot. Like I just gave a little training for men on women's anatomy and pleasure. I was telling you about it before we started recording, Tiffany, and it was amazing. It was so fun. And one thing I reiterated over and over again was, guys, you gotta slow down.
Mm.
And, I was saying, if you think you've slow down another 10 more times than you think you've slowed down. And what was really interesting to me, and I'm not throwing any shade on you guys, like I'm not any guys that are watching this, but just to point it out, like I know partners of some of the guys in the audience, right? And some of the guys in the audience were like, oh, I've got that sorted. And their partners would say to me, nah, not
Actually,
really,
no.
and it was quite a few. It wasn't just a one-off. And so guys, like, you gotta slow down.
As
That's the
a woman, that doesn't surprise me. I
mm-hmm.
feel like if I was a guy, though, that I would be like, oh no, yeah, like no, we're good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I've
like
got
as
that
a woman,
sorted.
that's the fact that there's women being like, actually, no, it's not,
Yeah,
does not surprise me.
yeah. And it's on us as well to go slower, please, a bit slower, 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 even slower. Let me show you with my own fingers just how slow and soft I want you to be. This is what I'm talking about.
And how sexy is that?
And how sexy is that? Right? Make it a sexy thing rather
Even
than
when
a,
you
you're
said it,
doing
I was like,
anything wrong.
yeah,
Yeah,
like even
right?
just when you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we are worth having our being explored. And I
Mm-hmm.
think for some reason, I don't know if it's that we don't think about that or we don't think we are, but like you're worth exploring yourself.
Yeah.
You're worth having your partner explore you and get creative and learn about you.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't need to be a wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Like,
No.
those
No.
are fun. They have their time and place,
Yeah.
their spicy level, you know, but like
Yeah.
worth the exploration.
And
It's
also, you know what? If it's true that it takes 45 minutes for a female body to be fully aroused, right? When's the last time we gave ourselves a 45-minute exploration on our own,
That's fair. That's a
right?
great question.
Because we're also asking other people to give us that gift. And is that also something we're not giving ourselves? Are we just picking up a vibe and going
Or
for a
are we
quick
getting
3 minutes,
irritated that if the vibration doesn't hit just right in under 5 minutes?
right? 45 minutes. When's the last time we gave ourselves a full session like that and really let our bodies go for it?
Just, oh my God.
And if we're not,
I'm like, doesn't that sound nice? Like,
doesn't that
my
sound
body just relaxed into that thought so deliciously.
that's the thing, right? And then the question is, if we're not giving ourselves 45 minutes, why aren't we? What's the rush? What else is more important on our to-do lists? What are we making more important than actually slowing down and touching our bodies in the ways that they really want to be touched and learning our bodies? What else is on our to-do list that's more important? Because if we're scrolling, that's not more important. If we're watching TV, that's not more important. If we're worried about our partners, that's not more important. The kids might be more important depending on how old they are. I'll give you that, right? But why are we making everything else more important than this?
You know, I think as a society, or at least in the United States, you can share if it's the same on your side of the
Mm.
globe. I think there is shame around self pleasure when
Oh,
you're in a relationship, meaning that
yeah.
your partner isn't satisfying you. So there's like some shame and some guilt. And sometimes you do just want to do it yourself, not have someone involved, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think there's that area that we
Yep,
have to take ownership of and work through ourselves and figure out what works within our relationship for both partners and
absolutely.
exploring that. And that takes some courage to have those conversations.
It totally does. Yeah. One thing it was with a friend of mine who has a teenage daughter. And the teenage daughter is coming up to the age where she's ready to be sexually active, but she's not yet ready to actually talk to, so she's into dudes as well. And she's not yet ready to talk to the dude about the sex they could potentially be having. And the thought there from my friend is if she's not ready to talk about it with him, is she ready to be having it with him? And I think that goes for every life stage, right? If we are not ready to like take a deep breath and talk about sex with the people that we're having sex with, are we really ready to be having sex with the people that we're having sex with?
That needs to be a quote card for you.
Right? Or on a
That's
t-shirt.
the sound bite right there. That's the message because like I
Yeah.
think you're right. I
Yeah.
don't I haven't thought about that, but you are so right. If we can't articulate it, then should we be having it?
Yeah. Yeah. If we can't feel brave enough to use our voices to ask for it, should we be letting it happen to our
Yeah.
bodies?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then that just opens a whole nother door of other areas that might need attention from you.
Yeah. Totally.
Because then you go down the path of like, well, why not? And maybe there's other dynamics there that need to be worked on because,
Oh, of course, it's not that simple,
right,
but
it's not just a yes or no.
no,
And so many of us as women know that sex starts long before the moment we're interested in
sex
having
is 24
it.
hours a day.
It is the whole
Yeah.
thing, right? When you meet someone new, you know, this thought has been rolling in my brain for like months and I've never had the right place for it to be applicable. I'm so excited I get to actually have this conversation out loud with someone. Thank you for being here. But it's like, and then it got scared. Oh no, I've literally been chewing on this thought. Oh, here, I remember now. It's like when we first start dating, we meet
Mhm.
someone, we start dating, it's the littlest things that are care and attention that get us turned on, where we're open to being sexual with them, and it's spicy and it's hot and it's like
Yeah.
all the things we imagine our sex life to be, right? And then if you develop into a relationship with that person, especially men, they think that that changes, but in reality that care and attention has to evolve with the relationship, or the sexual piece doesn't follow, and we don't want to connect with you that way. We don't feel intimate with you. We don't really feel spicy in those ways. And so like, where are you, one, in your relationship of the people you're having
Yeah.
relations with? And is that emotional care and connection evolving with the relationship and sexual like adventures that you want to have? Because as a woman, it's that connection piece when I'm in a relationship with you that drives me to want to be intimate with you and be
Totally.
safe and vulnerable and explore. And I wish more men really understood that, but they're not going to listen to this podcast, especially not this far into this one, where it's just like, that's the difference. It's not that women get disinterested in sex, it's that your level of care and attention didn't evolve with the relationship that you're in, and you don't understand why you just showing up or sending a good morning text or something
Yeah.
like that isn't enough anymore.
No. I saw this awesome comment on a Facebook post that I made where this woman said, "Oh, my guy's got it sorted out. He cleans up around the house and then he takes a photo of every single thing he does as he cleans and he sends it to me. So he's got cleaning porn sorted and he knows. He knows if he sends me cleaning porn, he's getting lucky." Because she knows that if he's doing things around the house, he's doing it for her because he doesn't care. He doesn't see the point of it, but he knows it's important to her. So it's his act of service is cleaning porn.
I love that
It's
for
lucky.
her. But and you know, this is a lot about me. What I my trigger in that was, if he's only doing it to get lucky, like, you're an adult and you're responsible for this house too, like, pack sand, buddy. like
No,
but
let's
intentions
celebrate
are
it.
but intentions
Absolutely.
and how you present that is so important.
It's so important. If you don't give a shit, oh, sorry. If you, I'm just going to square. If you don't give a shit around about how clean your house is, but you are with somebody who cares, and therefore you clean up. Oh
Yes.
my God. I mean,
Yes,
what
you're
nanny
doing it
territory?
to help them, to serve them, to make their
It's an
life
act of
easier and to
service.
love them. Very, very different than someone who does it for the get.
Oh, totally. Act of
Yeah.
service. Absolute act
Yeah.
of service. That's
Yeah.
better than a good morning text. That
Yes.
sort of stuff. Like
I love
pay
that.
attention, paying it, and that goes for us. Like it goes for women in the other direction as well. Like pay attention. What do
Yes.
they act like? What are they telling you through their actions actually matters to them?
Yes. And as the person who's doing the things for your partner, you also can't get upset when they don't give you the, like, there are times where I'm going to use the male scenario because I think it's very relatable, where it's like, well, I cleaned the house. Why not? I did all
Mhm.
of your chores today. Why are we not having sex? You're never happy. And it's like, actually, now you're disrespecting your partner
Mhm.
because you only did those things because you wanted something at the end of the day, rather than doing those things and allowing space for her to be herself, to appreciate you. And instead, if she doesn't want you, like, that's an opportunity for you to explore what's going on with her and to
Mm.
connect with her on a deeper level, to open that door maybe for sexy times. Maybe that evening, now that she's decompressed and feels seen and heard, or maybe it's later in the week. But like,
Yeah.
I think that goes, I'll use that example, but I think that goes both ways. What are your intentions behind doing it? Is it because you want something and that's icky vibes, or is it because you're serving and you're setting up an environment for your partner to feel safe and secure in? What are
And
your thoughts there?
communication. Communication. It all
Yeah,
comes down to communication, right? On all levels of our being. We've got to get better at talking to each other.
yeah.
We've got
I
to
mean,
get better at listening,
yeah, for real. I mean, I
right?
think that scenario right there, like, that says a lot about me and where I
Mm-hmm.
have my relationships that I've had and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And so, like, it's okay. I shared that and was vulnerable about those things for you listening. Like, we all have different journeys and stories and history and relationships, because not a single relationship is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so, like, it's okay to be honest about where things are and what you actually need to create a nest of safety for you to be sexy and spicy and free.
Totally. And it's really necessary. Our nervous systems need to be relaxed to be fully open and surrendered and juicy and turned on and orgasmic. Like the safer our nervous systems can feel, the more open we can be.
And the less pain you experience as well when you relax out, because the
100%.
body feels safe and
Yeah.
unblocked.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Naomi, what a juicy, amazing conversation.
Oh my God, we went on a journey.
We did
I
go on
don't
a
even
journey
know
and
where
I
we
love
went.
it. I love it because I mean, that's how we think and how we talk and how real life is, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, as we wrap up this
Yeah.
episode, what is the one thing you want our bestie listening to know as she moves into the rest of her day?
I'm going to go with, I mean, there's so many, right? But I'm going to go with your pleasure is worth it. You
Mm.
feeling lit up and turned on and juicy and alive in your body, it's worth it. And you're worth it. You're worth feeling good in your body, whatever that means for you. You define that for yourself. It's your body, it's your business. And no matter how busy your day is today, see if you can find 5 seconds to stop and feel something with your senses, as in taste, touch, smell, hearing, whatever the other one is. Like, give yourself that gift to really like just light something up just for a minute and let yourself have that self-worth to do that.
What a beautiful gift you've given us today, Naomi. It's your body, it's your business.
Mm-hmm. Right
Naomi,
on.
oh, how do people connect with you?
So, probably the best way is I am the pleasure naturopath. So if you search for the pleasurenaturopath.com, you're going to find me. And I've got loads of resources on the website. So much. There's so much there that you can
Even
just.
when you just said lows, like there was so much sauciness and spiciness. Like I felt the juiciness in the way you said it. I was like, go get it. Go get you some resources.
Yeah,
Go
go.
check
That's
Naomi
right. Go get yourself some resources.
out. And like let today be one of the first day to the last day that you feel shame around your body and what might actually be happening. Like you, it's your body, it's your business. And so with that, Naomi, thank you for being here. That's
Thank
Two
you,
Humans
Tiffany.
Talking. I'll see you next week. Bye.
That was fun. Bye.